Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Vic Senese. Glad to have everybody on board. We come to you every Saturday at 9 a.m. Central Time, and we come to you live over YouTube, Facebook, X, LinkedIn, all of those places. Glad to have you join us anywhere you want. This is your first time joining us. Be sure to check out our website at UroNurse.com, the best place to go to learn more about our website, our show, about other great podcasts, our sponsors, and what's coming up. Also, best place to go to learn about any of our past episodes. Lots of information out there, so be sure to check it out. If you like to listen to us in your car, you don't want to watch it, no problemo. Go ahead and check out our audio podcast. Hey, you can check out our podcast if you've checked it out before. Our website, we've got a new link that takes you to its own little audio podcast area where you can listen to us on any of your favorite podcasting apps. And we just added iHeartRadio to one of our additional people that you can check us out with. So lots of ways to hear us in your car now. We got Apple, Amazon, YouTube Music. I'm probably forgetting a couple, Spotify. So lots of places. Hey, this week I'm going to be talking about how to create and record stunning virtual presentations in PowerPoint. So it's going to be a fun, exciting show. I'm all by myself today because, heck, I'm the only one that needs to be here for this presentation since I am the expert. Now, I got to admit, I'm not the expert on PowerPoint. I've been using PowerPoint forever. I mean, probably like most people. But then I switched over to the Apple system. And with my first Mac, I got Keynote for free. Keynote has been such a strong and powerful presentation tool that I still use it as my main go-to place. However, because of the ability to kind of, be more universal, and since PowerPoint tends to be more universal, I have done some things in PowerPoint and started again playing with some more. Well, they've launched a lot of new and interesting tools into PowerPoint. And I was recently asked I'll talk to you a little bit about what happened and what spurred all this on. So let's get right into the presentation of PowerPoint and I'll tell you about it. So what spurred this whole thing on is I got asked to speak for the Pacific Coast chapter of the WOCN. They asked if I would be willing to talk at their next upcoming conference, which is in Palm Springs, California. And they want me to talk about, guess what? AI. So kind of my favorite subject to talk about most of the time. Anyway, so when they asked me, I said, well, let me think about it and I'll get back to you, because one of the things I thought about was if I'm going to go to, Palm Springs, that's a 1-hour drive to get from my house, which is in Indiana, to Midway Airport. Once you get to the airport, now you got to sit around most of the time for a couple hours. They say get there at least 2 hours ahead of time. By the time I park my car and everything else, I'm clearly spending about 2 hours waiting to get on that plane. And then the plane ride between Chicago to Palm Springs to California, that's about a 4-hour airline trip. That's no fun either. And then you get to the airport, you got to get your luggage, or if you're carrying on, you can just carry it on and you got to get your way through the airport and get a taxi or an Uber or whatever you take to get to your location. But you probably got another hour that you're getting, wasting time doing too. So when you put all that stuff together, you got all these commute times and wait times and everything else. It turns out it's 8 hours. Now, I don't mind talking for an hour, but I'm not crazy about 8 hours to get there and 8 hours to get back home. And I mean, if I was going to vacation in California, it might be a nice way to get a vacation, but I've been to California, nothing special for me to go out and see again. No diss on California. So I said to them, I'd be more than glad to present. However, I'm a podcaster. I stream. I've got my own studio. I said, let me come into you virtually. Really, there'll be no difference to your audience. They're going to see my slides. They're going to see me up on the screen. It'll be a wonderful experience for them. And I don't have to waste all that time commuting. And they kind of hemmed and hawed and said, well, let's us think about it. And thankfully they said, yes, we're good. Let's go ahead and do it. And I'm done this before. And one of the things that when you're kind of in the podcasting and remote, you really rely on internet, strongly rely on your internet. you count on a good connection. So you don't always get a good connection. Sometimes things go awry, internets go down, power goes down. I've had all sorts of things pop up in my career. So whenever you're going to do something like this, you need to have a backup plan. We call that redundancy. So if you're going to do something, have another way around just in case. And so that's when I when I was pitching this to them, I said, I'll also be sending you my file pre-recorded. I says, I'll do it live, but I says, in case something happens, you can always just play the recording. They said, great. We were hoping to have recordings in PowerPoint anyway. So I said, no problem. I'll look at PowerPoint and I'll do my recording in PowerPoint. This way here, they've got their own background, their own template they wanted to use. So it'll all look consistent for their show. So when I finished all this, they said, we have other people that might want to record their slides. Also, any way you could tell us how you're going to do this? And I'm like, of course I could. So I thought, well, this might be the perfect opportunity for me to go ahead and create a presentation, talk about how you go through it. So I decided I'm going to do something a little different today. I really came in almost naive to how PowerPoint is used for recording. So you're going to see me stumbling through this. Now, what's interesting is PowerPoint is recording off of my computer. I've also got software that can record my computer screen. So it's me recording myself. Go figure. But anyway, I thought it'd be kind of fun to take you guys through this on a live basis, so you see what it's like to go through setting this up, and if it's your first time, some discovery that I get. So I think it works out pretty well. So let's take it to the stage here. Okay, so I thought I would show you the slideshow that I have on how to record yourself doing a PowerPoint, kind of giving a presentation at the same time I'm showing you how it works. So you have to go up to record. Now, this is one of the things Microsoft would like to record this computer screen and audio. So you have to give it permission. So I'm going to open this and make sure that I turn this on here. Now I'm using a Mac. So I had to give it permission to record the screen, because that's what it's going to be doing, is screen recording here. So over here in this corner, it said Cameo, which I pushed. You have to go into Cameo to make sure that it will record. So now I'm going to click on my record mode, and here's what it looks like. This is kind of tricky to do because I'm actually recording myself. Kind of confusing. So I'm using two different softwares. So you can see I'm in the bottom there. And one of the nice things I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this. So this is a laser pointer. So you can see I'm able to use my laser pointer on the slides, which is pretty cool. If you want to make a marking on the slide, you can do that too. So it's all those things are available. I tend to use the laser a lot, so I'm going to kind of put that one off to the side here. So if you don't want it to show up, you can turn it off and just turn it on when you need it. But now you can see, so I think you can see this because I've got my other thing recording it. Up here is the dialogue, which is kind of cool. So you always want to have your own presenter notes. I normally use presenter notes as something that I'm going to have available for me when I'm presenting, just as like a reminder. I don't really tend to use them as I'm going to read it as a dialogue, but just as a demonstration here, I'm going to show you how that works. Right up here is the record button. Now here's the other thing is camera, and right up here is your camera. You can turn your camera on or off. You can see it's going on and off at the bottom there. You can click here to see what microphone is using. Mine's using the correct microphone. If I wanted to mute, I could mute it. And there are some options for teleprompter or presenter's view. Maybe you want the big blown up presenter view like most people are used to seeing, but you don't see your notes. So I like this new teleprompter look. You can increase the size if you'd like to make those smaller or larger. If it's too far, you can move it up and down if you can't read it underneath the slide, but there's that little bit of flexibility, which is kind of neat. So I do like that. Turn that off. So let's say you're going to go ahead and do the recordings. Let's do our recording here. So click that. It's giving me a count in. And hey, welcome everyone. This presentation will teach you how to record yourself while delivering a PowerPoint presentation. By the end of this session, you'll be able to create engaging recorded presentations with ease. Let's get started. Now, I'm going to stop that right there. Maybe I didn't like how that turned out. I'm not sure if you can hear that or not. If I didn't like how it turned out, I can go back and re-record it by hitting this garbage can. Gets rid of it. You can record the whole presentation at once by just flipping through your slides, or you can do each slide individually. I like to do mine as one presentation because I think I'm more natural when I do that than trying to record each slide, but some people like to do each slide. Now, one of the things I wanted to make a mention of, and I'll take a picture of this just to have here for you guys to see. So I've got a camera right above where this presenter is, where the teleprompter notes are. So when I'm reading these notes, I'm actually looking pretty much at the camera. Gives you a nice look. Nothing worse than having somebody looking like down like this at notes. And by the way, this picture of me is, you can go in there later on and change it. So one of the things I will mention, look at your picture here, make sure you're framed properly. You don't want to, be out of the frame or too much in the frame. You should have kind of a little bit of headroom. They call that up here. You want to have good lighting. I've got a couple of lights. I'm in my studio, so I can really turn up the lighting. Good. Check your backdrop. Make sure that something's behind you that doesn't look weird. Like, if you're doing this in a bedroom or in a, anywhere you're doing it, look at the wall. Is there something weird on the wall that's going to draw people's attention? I have a backdrop, which is the perfect thing to have for this. So now let's go ahead. I'll go ahead and record this and show you how it works. So hit the record button. It's going to go ahead and count that in. And hey, welcome everyone. This presentation will teach you how to record yourself while delivering a PowerPoint presentation. By the end of this session, you'll be able to create engaging recorded presentations with ease. Hey, let's get started. Before recording, make sure that your slides are polished and error-free. Use bullet points and visuals to support your narration. Add speaker's notes, as these will guide you on what you say during the recording. I'm going to stop the recording there just to kind of talk to you about that. Speaker's notes are kind of nice to have. I really like to memorize what I'm doing as much as I can. Again, I think if you're reading your notes all the time, you're going to look like you're reading your notes all the time. But hey, it's whatever works best for you. So I'm good with that. So let's see, I'm going to go advance to the next one. Now it's recorded that one, so I'm going to record. And, if you look down here, you can kind of see there I am. And I've got this, I'm blocking part of the word audio. Don't worry, I'm going to show you how to fix that. But anyway, practice, have your notes as a reminder. But if you're going to use it as a dialogue, make sure you practice it a few times, go through it. And, make it interesting. You don't want it to sound the same, monotone sound. I'll show you what I don't want you to do is this. So I'm going to do this slide here. Invest in a quality microphone for professional sounding audio. Choose a quiet room with minimal background noise and distractions. If you plan to use a webcam, ensure your face is well lit and centered. Too monotone, it's too stiff. Again, remember, you can always use your pointers too. So you want it to sound more like this. Hey, invest in a quality microphone for a professional sounding audio. Now, I'm using a professional one. It's hard to see it in the picture, but I'm using a professional Shure microphone that really gives me the best sound. It doesn't have to be an expensive mic. You can get a less expensive one over at your local Amazon. These USB mics actually sound a lot better. If you're using the microphone built into your computer, I discourage that because they don't have a very good sound. Now, another thing, I'm in a studio. I've got a completely soundproof room, basically. But you want to choose a quiet room with minimal background noise and distractions. If you plan to use a webcam, ensure that your face is well lit and centered. Remember, I kind of talked to you about that earlier. So I'm lucky enough to have a studio where I can center myself, but you'll be able to work it out. Navigate to the slideshow tab at the top of the PowerPoint ribbon. Click on the record slideshow button. Then select where you want to start recording. Ensure the narrations and laser pointer option is checked to capture. Just going to show you where that's at here. Whoops, I should turn that off. So that's this thing right down here. So make sure that that's visible. So I'm doing these as individual slides, some of them. As you record, speak naturally and confidently as if presenting to a live audience. Use the tools available to emphasize key points on your slides. If you make a mistake, don't worry. You can just re-record that slide. So as I had mentioned earlier, I like this step by step by step. So kind of as I'm giving my talk, people can kind of concentrate on my slides. Speak clearly and confidently. Use laser pointer, highlighters, pens. Pause if needed. You can re-record individual slides. So there's a little tip behind them. It's not I'm not reading the slide. Never, never, never do that. Oh my gosh, worst thing you could do. Once you're happy with the recording, save your presentation to preserve your work. To share it as a video, use the export feature to create an MP4 file. Select high quality settings for a professional result. And we're going to go through that with you too, so not to worry. So here's some final tips. Rehearse your presentation multiple times. Remember I told you that earlier, to ensure smooth delivery. Watch your recordings to identify areas for improvement. Remember to keep your audience in mind and make your presentation dynamic and engaging. So here we go. We're all done with our recording. I'm going to go ahead and shut that off. And now, as I said, I'm recording a recording, so it's kind of, I don't know, we'll see how this works, but escape. There we go. So now let's go ahead and we're going to make the actual, we're going to go through these videos. So let's go back to here. You see, this is movable. I can put this anywhere I want. I can also make it any size I want. So maybe I want it a little bigger. Whoa. You got to be careful. Sometimes you can. And this is kind of a weird, a different effect. You can set it up so that it's actually cutting part of the circle off. See, like that. I think there are some options. I have to look at that to see if you could change your cameo. So I was fooling around a little bit here and see what things you can do. And there's this thing called video format, which allows you to do things like change the border around your having some kind of an outline. So let's say I wanted to, I don't know, outline it in red. And then I can also make that a thicker outline. So that might be kind of cool having that outlined in red. Again, some options. That's under the video format, video effects. You can put a shadow behind it. There, we can kind of see that one is reflection, kind of reflecting it down there. Glow. Maybe you want to rotate yourself a little bit. You can do all sorts of crazy things with this program. Rotation bit. Going to get rid of that. So anyway, you can play with these things yourself and see what things you like best, but there are some options out there. Now, as I said, the big thing is to kind of get yourself in the right place. So here, I'm in probably the right place. I could make myself a little bit bigger. I recommend holding the shift down when you do this so that you increase both sides. And you can play this. So you can kind of see how they look at each one. So each one is an individual file. So again, this one, obviously we don't want it there. Maybe we're going to put it up here. And I'm going to make it a little smaller so it's not blocking off that nice picture. This one, I could probably make it a little bigger. So you can really go in this and really customize this for however you want. I didn't use the laser too much because this didn't really, I think, need a laser as much, but so there we go. One of the things I could almost see doing is, let's see, inserting a new slide. And let's see, I'm going to go into record. Current slide. So here we go. We're in that current slide. Now I have nothing in my teleprompter, but I'm just going to make a, kind of like a final slide. I'm going to show you how we can make this full size, full screen. So I'm going to record that really quick. Well, it's been really great talking to everybody today about how to record yourself doing slides. Most importantly, have fun with it. If you're having fun, it'll look like it's fun and your presentation will be best. So now I'm good with that. And now here's my trick. So I'm going to take this, hold my shift key down, and let's bring it up to full screen. Get these boxes out of here. Let's see. Design. I wonder. Yeah, okay. Look at that. I can get it squared and get rid of that circular look. So there must be a way to change that in some of these other ones using the slide, the designer feature. So there I am, big. All right, so anyway, there we go. Now, the next step is how do you get this into a movie? So we've got this set up. We're happy with how it looks. We need to go and create a movie out of it. So now you need to go up to your file menu. Now I'm using full screen. That's why everything kind of got out of the way. But I go into here and I want to, what do I want? Export it. So that'll take you to this menu here. And what you're going to want to do is export it as a movie file. Like as they said, MP4 or MOV. Either one of those will work. We'll go MP4. Compression, if I happen to have Apple, I can use HEVC on Apple, but 264 is kind of the standard. I would advise doing that. Ultra 4K, wow. Ultra HD, standard. 1080p is kind of the standard right now. There's not, sometimes monitors aren't 4K anymore, or they're not yet, I should say. So you may not want to do that unless you know for sure it's going to be shown on a 4K viewer. And then you go ahead and use recorded timings and narrations. If it was one of these things where there was like music playing, then sometimes you just give each slide its own time. But we're going to use the timing because that was what we spent on each slide. So it'll automatically go through those. We're going to hit export. You can tell it where to put it. I mean, the desktop is fine with me. Wherever you know you're going to be able to find it later. Let's go ahead and export that. So it's doing its magic. Yep, it was just now it finished the file. So it takes a little time to process. Now, I'm working on a Mac with an M4 chip. It's probably the most powerful chip there is right now. So it's really fast. I can tell you that if you're using some other computer, especially if it's an older computer, be aware that processing time is going to be timely. So let's take a look and see what we came up with. Hey, welcome everyone. This presentation will teach you how to record yourself while delivering a PowerPoint presentation. By the end of this session, you'll be able to create engaging recorded presentations with ease. Hey, let's get started. Before recording, make sure that your slides are polished and error-free. Use bullet points and visuals to support your narration. Add speaker's notes, as these will guide you on what you say during the recording. Invest in a quality microphone for professional sounding audio. Choose a quiet room with minimal background noise and distractions. If you plan to use a webcam, ensure your face is well lit and centered. Too monotone, it's too stiff. Again, remember, you can always use your pointers too. So you want it to sound more like this. Hey, invest in a quality microphone for a professional sounding audio. Now, I'm using a professional one. It's hard to see it in the picture, but I'm using a professional Shure microphone that really gives me the best sound. It doesn't have to be an expensive mic. You can get a less expensive one over at your local Amazon. These USB mics actually sound a lot better. If you're using the microphone built into your computer, I discourage that because they don't have a very good sound. Now, another thing, I'm in a studio. I've got a completely soundproof room basically, but you want to choose a quiet room with minimal background noise and distractions. If you plan to use a webcam, ensure that your face is well lit and centered. Remember, I kind of talked to you about that earlier. So I'm lucky enough to have a studio where I can center myself, but you'll be able to work it out. Navigate to the slideshow tab at the top of the PowerPoint ribbon. Click on the record slideshow button, then select where you want to start recording. Ensure the narrations and laser pointer option is checked to capture. As you record, speak naturally and confidently as if presenting to a live audience. Use the tools available to emphasize key points on your slides. If you make a mistake, don't worry. You can just re-record that slide. So, as I had mentioned earlier, I like this step by step by step. So, kind of as I'm giving my talk, people can kind of concentrate on my slides. Speak clearly and confidently. Use laser pointer, highlighters, pens. Pause if needed. You can re-record individual slides. So there's a little tip behind them. I'm not reading the slide. Never, never, never do that. Oh my gosh, worst thing you could do. Once you're happy with the recording, save your presentation to preserve your work. To share it as a video, use the export feature to create an MP4 file. Select high quality settings for a professional result. And we're going to go through that with you too, so not to worry. So here's some final tips. Rehearse your presentation multiple times. Remember I told you that earlier to ensure smooth delivery. Watch your recordings to identify areas for improvement. Remember to keep your audience in mind and make your presentation dynamic and engaging. Well, it's been really great talking to everybody today about how to record yourself doing slides. Most importantly, have fun with it. If you're having fun, it'll look like it's fun and your presentation will be best. So there you have it. I hope that was helpful. I do have the comments open, so you can go ahead and put any questions you might have in the comment area. I'll be glad to take any questions that you might have. I think I hopefully caught a couple of good tips in there. Number one, this is not hard to do. I started as somebody who was naive to recording slides, never did it before in PowerPoint. So I wanted to kind of show you how it was to just kind of hunt your way through some of this. Now I can guarantee my next recording will be much better because I'm learning the program better. But I'm actually pretty happy with how that came out. The other thing I think you should probably have noticed because of that, I like that telestrator or teleprompter, whatever they call it, feature, because as I showed in my picture where my camera's at, you can see that most of the time when I wasn't, looking at something else, my eyes were focused towards the camera, which is what you want. That's the look. A lot of people that are recording slides make that mistake is they forget that you're talking to the camera, which is your audience. So when somebody's looking at you on that by a giganto screen, wherever your conference might be, you don't want to be looking off to the sides or reading notes on another monitor. I've had a few people do that. It doesn't look good. So keep all this stuff in mind. And as I mentioned, you can see my headroom. For those that are on the show that are experts who come on, we start the show about a half hour beforehand, and we're just testing out make sure everybody's quality looks good, that they don't have bad lighting or their headroom is too high or too low, or all these things that we can work out. These are the tips that are going to make it look good. Your background. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've told somebody, hey, move that chair out of the way. It looks funny, or you got something that's distracting in the background. You don't have to have a fancy studio to do this. You just need to make sure you're aware of your environment so that it's going to look good. You want the best presentation, to make your presentation matter. If you have things that are distracting to your audience, they're going to be paying attention to all those things and not what you're saying. So keep that in mind. Trying to see if there's any other tips I really wanted to share. Oh, I know. So if you go to UroNurse.com, there's a drop down that has all the podcasts that I do. And one of those is Boot Camp. Boot Camp is a once a month podcast that I put out on how to stream. Talks about, so if you're wondering, how do you pick out a microphone? What mic am I using? go to the boot camp and check them out. There's 6 episodes or 5 episodes already up there that go into a lot of the technicalities of cameras and lighting and framing and all that other good stuff. So if you want to know more about it, check out boot camp. And so let's see. I don't see any questions coming in. Means I covered everything so well that nobody has a question. That's normally why I have my experts on, because they'll start asking me questions. But again, typically when I do these kind of shows, a lot of times I don't have any experts. Give them the week off. That's take some time out of everybody's life to do this. So I'm good with what I've gotten down for you. I hope it's been entertaining and you learned a few things. And I'd like to see everybody get out there and do the best presentation, because sometimes I'm sitting in the audience and I got to watch and endure some of these really bad presentations. So, hey, you're never going to have a bad presentation if you watch what I've told you to do. Now, let's talk a little bit more about what's coming up here. So if you stick around, you can check out our website. We do have our UroPatient podcast, which comes out every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Central Time. And for those of you that are patients, maybe that are watching this, we have this week's, we're going to talk about what a pessary is. If you don't know what it is, you're going to find out. So kind of interesting. So check that one out. And then our newest podcast, Dr. Jeff Talks About Sex and Intimacy, is coming. It comes every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time. So this Tuesday, we have our next episode, our 6th episode going out for that. It's a weekly show. Dr. Amy Hall is going to be joining Dr. Jeff and myself for talking about empowering women post-menopause, tackling vaginal dryness and hot flashes. Hopefully these are all handy. And then, hey, UroNurse, next week, join us for this.
Personal protective equipment, PPE, is essential to prevent the transmission of infectious pathogens. This course reviews the various forms of PPE, how to determine appropriate PPE for a variety of situations, and the correct order of donning and doffing PPE. Laurel Robinson, DNP, delivers an insightful presentation on personal protective equipment, emphasizing its critical role in safeguarding healthcare professionals and patients. With her extensive expertise, she highlights best practices, innovative advancements, and the importance of compliance in various clinical settings. This session offers CME, CNE, CPE, 0.75 credits. Join us next week to learn more.
So yeah, join us next week. Next week's will be a opportunity to get almost 3/4 of a credit for your continuing credits. I thought it'd be kind of a good one to talk about, because I just read in the paper today, actually, that we're in a severe flu season right now. So I think it's important to know how PPE is how you protect yourself from getting something from a patient that's contagious. So it's going to talk all about what you need to do to keep yourself safe. Sometimes we worry about our patients more than we do ourselves. So always important to keep ourselves safe. So speaking of that, hey, take it easy, everyone. Be safe. I've heard that we're, at least if you're living in the Midwest area where I do, around Chicagoland area, there's another ice storm coming. Thursday, I danced down the driveway trying to get to my car. It was so icy and luckily didn't fall. But, keep that in mind. We're going to be into some severe weather. This is the winter time, so be safe. See everybody next week.